Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। 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 Sixth mantra. Yattadadreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushrotram tadapanipadam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam tadavyayam yadbhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraah. Sixth mantra is indicating the lakshana of Akshara. What are the indicators of Akshara? Is mentioned in this sixth mantra. Puja Gurudev writes in his commentary that this mantra is something which is so important that Shankaracharya cannot move on to any other page of his Bhashya without quoting something of this mantra. Means wherever Atma Lakshana is mentioned, there this mantra will be oft quoted. That just shows how important it is to reflect upon each Lakshana and also internalize the meaning of each Lakshana. What was said previously, that Apara Vidya includes Rigveda, Yajurveda and Upanishad Shabda Rashi. So chanting of sixth mantra, the Shabda Rashi part of it. According to Mundakopanishad, that falls under Apara Vidya. But if you are able to reflect upon each Lakshana, And if sadhaka is able to turn attention to Akshara, that is called as Paravidya. In 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan gives one secret for all sadhakas. 49th verse until 53rd verse, it talks about several sadhanas that we have to do, how our journey should be, spiritual milestones he points out. Then finally he says, how will a seeker come to know me? How will a seeker come to know this Atma Tattva? He says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati, yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. One comes to know this truth by being devoted to the truth. Bhaktya mam abhijanati means he has wholeheartedly surrendered to Atma. Just like we have insistence for worldly things, there in the commentary it is said we should have insistence for Atma Lakshana. Insistence to own up every Lakshana of Atma. That itself is called as Jnana Nishtha. What is Jnana Nishtha? Agraha for abidance in self. Agraha means insistence, where he is trying to understand every word and try to abide in that word. That itself, that continuous abidance, effortless abidance, where Atma Lakshana becomes so clear to me, there is no doubt. That effortless abidance is called as Nishtha. And then Bhagwan says, after mentioning this verse, Bhaktyamam Abhijanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tattvataha, he says, Mat Prasadat Avapnoti. Arjuna, because you have done sadhana, don't think you will get self-abidance as a result of that. The final dawn of knowledge, he says it is Mat Prasadat. By my grace, this knowledge dawns upon a sadhaka. These lakshanas become clear for a sadhaka. What did sadhaka do? He became Jigyasu Bhakta. There are 4 types of devotees, right? Artha Bhakta is one who is in distress. Artharthi Bhakta is the one who needs something right now. He is not in distress, but he has some desire to be fulfilled. Third one is Jigyasu Bhakta. What does Jigyasu Bhakta pray to the Lord? May 6th mantra open up in its true purport. May my mind, which is rooted in conditionings right now, may develop the ability to shift to its own nature. Mind which is thinking, I am this body, that same mind has to understand, I am Akshara. So that is the prayer of Jigyasu Bhakta. Bhagavan says, on that Bhakta, Mat Prasadat Avapnoti Shashvatam Padam Avyayam. This Akshara which is eternal, immutable, that Akshara knowledge dawns upon with his grace. It's a very unique perspective Bhagavan gives in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. First he says, become devoted to the truth. Whatever altar we become devoted to, that altar starts revealing itself. And second he says, it is my grace which will bring this knowledge. So seeking his grace, let us look at the Bhashya of 6th mantra. Yatha vidhi vishaye kartradi. All of you found, right? Yatha vidhi vishaye. This is 6th mantra Bhashya. Page number? It is little bit behind. It will start on page number 19. Page number 19. Yatha vidhi vishaye kartradi. Found everybody? Okay, good. Good, I asked. I told you earlier, right? One of our Swamiji, he says, when he started teaching Srimad Bhagavatam, people brought Bhagavad Gita book, thinking that it is same. But he said what was most surprising was if I asked them, did you find the verse? Everybody said yes. Both look similar. So, यथा विधि विषये कर्त्रादि अनेक कारक उपसंहार द्वारेण वाक्यार्थ ज्ञान कालात् अन्यत्र अनुष्ठेयः अर्थः अस्ति अग्निहोत्रादि लक्षणः न तथा इह परविद्या विषये वाक्यार्थ ज्ञान समकाल एव तु पर्यवसितः भवति केवल शब्द प्रकाशित अर्थज्ञान मात्र निष्ठा व्यतिरिक्त अभावात् तस्मात् इह परविद्यां सविशेषणेन अक्षरेण विशिनष्टि यत्तददृश्यम् इत्यादिना वक्ष्यमाणं बुद्धौ संहृत्य सिद्धवत् परामृश्यते यत्तदिति. What Bhagavan is saying here, first we'll see in a summary. He says in the previous verse, Apara Vidya was mentioned. Right? Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Niruktam, Chanda, Jyotisham. Now you see that Apara Vidya, once you understand this is what is Apara Vidya, just the definition of Apara Vidya, that definition alone doesn't give knowledge. I mean, that is not the end of the journey. If I know Vyakaranam is called as grammar, just by knowing that, nothing happens. I have to know it and then go and do it. There is knowing and doing. Means I have to employ it in some action. I have to make words. I have to start applying that Vyakaran rules on certain things so that that knowledge is helpful. Karma Kanda is also similar. Just by knowing how to do Sandhya Vandanam, that is not sufficient. I have to actually do Sandhya Vandanam after knowing, then only I will get the result. Whereas here Bhagavan says mantra number 6 is unlike mantra number 5. Mantra number 6 is talking about Akshara Tattwa, where knowledge of Akshara Tattva alone is the result. Understanding that I am that consciousness devoid of conditionings, and what is the mahima of that consciousness. Understanding it as non-dual, he says that alone is the result. There is nothing more to be done after that. If it is karma kanda, then we have to hear the vakya, hear the statements. Then you need some other instruments to go and accomplish that statement. Employ the statement in karma. Whereas in Vedanta, when we say moksha is through knowledge alone, moksha is by understanding Mahavakya clearly. That alone is the result. There is nothing more which is needed after that. So this point we have to think for ourselves also and be very clear when we hear both these perspectives. One perspective will be what Shankaracharya is going to say here. He says, knowledge alone gives liberation. You don't need anything else. You listen to Mahavakya, that alone gives liberation. You must have heard the other statement also. Merely by listening to Mahavakya, nothing happens. Both statements are true. Huh? Both statements are true. First one is true for an adhikari, one who has perfect sadhana chatushtaya, devotion for God. His mind is free from all ragadveshas. And at the same time, his pramana buddhi is very, very strong in Shastra because he has done all the preparations. His understanding of I is not this body. His understanding of I is samashti, done upasana. That person is called as krutopasti. Kruta upasti, one who has done upasana, one who has expanded his vision of I. For that person, adhikarinam shravana matrena jnanam bhavati. Merely by listening to Mahavakya, knowledge takes place because there already preparation has been done. Knowledge just was the last straw to remove ignorance. Impurities, mala and vikshepa is removed. So much so that they don't even need mananam and nididhyasana. If there is a perfect adhikari, once he understands nature of truth, he says you even don't need the next two steps. Mananam and nididhyasanam is not needed. For example, they will say, let's say there is one rope lying there, you think it to be snake. Now, once you know it is rope, there is no snake there. Do you need more logic once you have brought the light and understood this is what is rope? There is only rope, there is no snake. Do you need more logic to get convinced? He says, no, you don't need logic. Mananam is not needed. If knowledge has taken place, that itself is a result. Do I need to keep repeating it in my mind? That this is rope, not a snake, rope, not. They say, will it help? So just appreciate what they are saying. They say, if knowledge has taken place clearly, there is no need even for the later two steps. But we have to remember, this is being spoken of for an adhikari. One who has that much of pramana buddhi, he never takes perception to be more real than Shastra Pramana. What sense organs are telling, he never gives equal footing to sense organs reporting something and scriptures telling something. Scriptures are always high in his understanding. Pramana given for scripture is high. Perception does not contradict his knowledge. So that is the first category. Somebody like Raman Maharshi ji. In Upadesha Sara he said, Atma Nirdvayat Atma Nishtata. What is the hetu? What is the reason for Atma Nishtha? He said the reason is truth is non-dual. Once we understand there is only one consciousness which is non-dual, Atma Nirdvayat, then where is the question of anything else to lose this abidance? And if I've understood I am that non-dual truth and there is nothing other than me, where is the question of stepping away from Atmanishta? Means that rope is saying, I know that I am rope. But what if I start thinking myself to be that illusory snake? That is not possible, because if you have understood that it is only rope, there is nothing called as snake, there should be no reason to get confused again. This is the clarity of an adhikari. Just like we have this notion, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a person. Like that, Atmanishta for adhikari is, this thought never goes away that I am Brahma. He never thinks of himself to be man, woman, identifying with mind and taking this world as real. That is the adhikara, if it is there, and Shravanam is done in this way, then knowledge take place with this clarity. But sadhaka's feeling, we have to always start there only. Somebody might be adhikari, somebody might have all these qualities. For them, it might not be important. I have to ask myself, what do I need? Mahavakya sadhaka who doesn't have that much of preparation yet, he will also get to hear. But that sadhaka's experience will be, I've heard it. So much so that a time comes, it is very difficult to say what I have not understood in Vedanta. Not what I've understood. It is difficult to say what I have not understood. You see, every topic I know. Avasthatraya I can explain, Mahavakya I can explain, Bhagatyaga I can explain. What is the main message of Vedanta? That also I can explain. There is no topic that I cannot explain. But Vedanta asks, are you reveling in that truth? Has this doubt gone for good that this world is real? This doubt should not be there. So much of conviction should be there that other than Brahma, everything is unreal. Has this conviction come? The reveling or the joy that a Jivan Mukta feels, Shastra asks that sadhaka, are you feeling that joy? He nods his head. What is the point in just saying somebody got moksha? He says that result I'm not seeing in myself. Then scriptures say, don't take any chance. For an adhikari, Shravana matrena jnanam bhavati. So first do your Shravanam thoroughly. On top of Shravanam, do Mananam. Think about why scriptures are saying everything other than consciousness is an appearance. Get conviction in this truth. Abide in this truth. Then this knowledge which is there, keep repeating it. Not just word. Nididhyasanam is repeating the knowledge that we have heard in Shravanam. सुने हुए, गुने हुए, चुने हुए की आवृत्ति. Lakshman ji, our Lakshman Gita, it was said. Sune hue means what I have heard. Gune hue means what I have reflected and gotten conviction. This is what is nature of Akshara. Chune hue means I have chosen it as my goal. Abiding in that, that is called as meditation. Where I not only have heard it, gained clarity, but I am continuously trying to maintain that single thought at the exclusion of all other thoughts. That single pointedness is called as dhyanam, nididhyasanam. The reason we are discussing this is we have to appreciate both perspectives. First one is Shravana matrena jnanam bhavati adhikarinam. If somebody has that adhikara, there will be no viparit bhavanas, erroneous notions. There will be no doubts also, because Shravanam is very clear. But we know when we hear something, everything doesn't become clear. We will have to sit down and reflect on our own. Mananam will have to do. Then our erroneous notions are so powerful, we have to keep repeating this meditation over and over again. Somebody went to an Mahatma Ji and he said, I am so busy in this world, I have no time to meditate. He said, my dear, because you are so busy, you need more time you should be meditating more. Because imagine, Viparit Bhavana will get stronger with this notion that I am Karta. Whenever I say I am a doer, with that erroneous notions become stronger. So that is this Bhashya. Bhagavan says, Yadha vidhi vishaye kartradi aneka karaka upasamhara dvarena. Just like in the case of vidhi vishaya, means karma kanda, you need many things to accomplish after you have gained knowledge. To get the final result, we need several karakas. Karakas means different factors वाक्यार्थ ज्ञान कालात् अन्यत्र अनुष्ठेयः अर्थः अस्ति. After having learned how to do it, you need a separate practice of it, where you can sit down and apply what you have learned. So if somebody learns how to do Agnihotra, learning alone is not sufficient. We have to learn it and then do it. That's why the example is given, Agnihotradi Lakshana. Na tata iha paravidya vishaye. But in the case of paravidya, in the case of mantra number 6, this is not the case. Knowledge alone is sufficient. Remember, two options we saw, right? One person is saying knowledge alone is sufficient. Shravana matrena jnanam bhavati. Another one is saying after Shravanam, you need Mananam and Nididhyasana. Both are not saying you have to mix karma and jnanam. Huh? Neither of them is saying we have to combine karma and jnanam. What they are saying is, do you need only Shravanam or do you need Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana? That is the question. If at all they mention about karma, the second person, if he says, karma is needed for moksha, how should we understand it? Through karma yoga, we'll get purity of mind. That purity of mind is increased adhikara. I can grasp Vedanta better. That consciousness which looked so abstract in the beginning, now I start feeling I know what they're talking about. It doesn't look as abstract. That was brought about because of mind became purer. They're not saying that like Agnihotra, in Brahma Vidya also you have to learn Brahma Vidya first, then do some actions to apply that Brahma Vidya. That is not their point. Both are saying Jagat is mithya only. These are two schools of thoughts within Vedanta, within Advaita Vedanta. How to attain Jnana Nishtha, how to attain self-abidance. One person considers Shravanam as the main goal, main sadhana. They say Mananam and Nididhyasanam are auxiliary sadhanas. Second person considers Nididhyasanam as main sadhana. He says your Shravanam and Mananam should lead you to that Nididhyasanam. Swami Akhandananji, he clarifies this two paths. He says the first path is for Paramahamsa sannyasis. Those who don't have any attachments, no other than Panchakosha, they don't have any other kosha. They have to deal only with 5 koshas. But let us say somebody is not there yet. Then the second path is mentioned of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. So we should not get confused when they say knowledge alone gives moksha. Knowledge along with reflection, along with Nididhyasanam, that leads to self-abidance. And Karma Yoga also will have to do, so that his mind doesn't have ragadveshas. According to the problem, solution will be there. If I go to the doctor and say, out of these 2 tablets, which is the best tablet? He will say, first tell me what is your problem. If you have headache, this is the good one. If you have stomachache, this is the second one. Like that, between these 2 paths, we should not ask which one is greater, first one or second one. We have to say where we are. So, na tata iha paravidya vishaye. In the case of Akshara Tattwa, this is not the case. What happens in the case of Akshara? Vakyartha jnana samakala evatu paryavasitah bhavati. While this knowledge is understood, Mahavakya knowledge becomes clear. Vakyartha jnana means Mahavakyartha jnana, samakala. Right at that time, abidance also comes along with it. Means result, what has to come, that will come along with it. I will understand I am that blissful self, separate from these conditionings. Kevala Shabda Prakashita Artha Jnana Matra Nishtha. Look at Shankaracharya. He is talking about Paramahamsa sannyasis. Kevala Shabda Prakashita Artha. When Mahavakya Shabda is understood in our intellect clearly that I am consciousness. Other than consciousness, there is nothing here. The world is not appearing outside. World is appearing in me, the pure consciousness. This itself is called as abidance. Vyatirikta abhavat. There is nothing other than this non-dual truth. So what is there to get bound by after knowledge has become clear? Other than this kind of abidance, he says there is nothing more to it. Just clear knowledge itself is abidance. Tasmat iha paravidyam savisheshanena aksharena vishinashti. Therefore, to lead us to that abidance, sixth mantra has come, which is going to indicate different lakshanas of Akshara Tattva. Bhashya, one thing I'll mention, you don't have to write each and every word. You'll find it very difficult to catch up otherwise. You don't have to translate the Bhashya in English while the class is going on. Because some of you mentioned that it might be it's moving a little quickly for you, the Bhashya part and everything. Just write down the key ideas. What was the main point Bhagwan mentioned over here? And if you have gap between the lines in Bhashya, just one word you can elaborate or translate in English and write. If you write every word, then we'll miss most of it. Vakshamanam buddhau samhrutya siddhavat paramrishyate yattad iti. The mantra starts by saying yattad adreshyam. So Shankaracharya says this word yattad has come to talk about that thing which is very, very immediate, and it is siddha vastu, very apparent. Whenever you start by saying this thing means that person who is in front of you also knows that thing, what it is. So you'll start elaborating about that thing. This thing which is there, I brought it from that place. Like that, Upanishad mantra is using yattat to talk about something which is very, very apparent. Siddhavat paramrishyate. To help us understand that siddha vastu, indicators are given. Now, whatever we saw in the last class, everything will come back again, but hopefully it will be a good revision. That's why I didn't recap in the beginning. Okay. First indicator. Adreshyam, adrishyam, sarvesham, buddhi, indriyanam, agamyam, iti etat, drushehe, bahishpravrittasya, panchendriya, dvarakatvat, agrahyam, karmendriya, avishayam, iti etat, agotram, gotram anvayah, moolam, iti anarthantaram, gotram, thah, nahi, tasya, moolam asti, avidyamanam, yena, anvitam syat, varnyante, iti varnaha, dravyadharmaha, स्थूलत्वादयः, शुक्लत्वादयो वा, अविद्यमाना वर्णा, यस्य तद अवर्णम aksharam. So the first indicator was adreshyam. Adreshyam, adrishyam, sarvesham buddhi indriyanam agamyam iti etat. That which is not available for mind, buddhi, intellect, and sense organs never becomes an object of organ of perception. That is Akshara Tattva. So when I sit down to meditate, this should be a lakshana I should hold on to meditate. Whatever becomes known, that is not what I am seeking. So if some sense object comes in front, some thought comes in front. All these thoughts are known. I am that Akshara who is the knower. That knower will never become known. Gurudev gives a beautiful example. He says the person watching through the telescope can watch other planets, but he cannot watch himself through the telescope. Means moment he comes and stands in front, becomes an object, the subject is not there. So subject and object cannot be the same thing. Nice examples he gives. No matter how tired you are, you cannot climb on your own shoulder. So subject and object cannot be the same. So drashta and drushya are different. Drashta is the seer, drushya is the seen. Drashta is different from drushya. दृशेः बहिष्प्रवृत्तस्य पंचेन्द्रिय द्वारकत्वात्. दृशेः means of vritti, thought along with consciousness, thought along with reflected consciousness. Bahishpravrittasya, it goes out through sense organs and gets knowledge of the world outside. Consciousness is that which is not object, which is not sense organ, which is not thought, not reflection of consciousness in that thought. It is consciousness without any conditionings. Some example for this, the consciousness going out through sense organs to get knowledge of sense objects. You've seen this somewhere else in a metaphor format. You can type it also. If I start, all of you will continue after me. Nana chidra ghatodara stitamaha deepaprabha bhaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikarana-dvara bahispandate janamiti tameva bhantamanubhatyetat samastam jagat tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namadam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. I don't know how Shankaracharya thought about this example. Today we do Halloween, right? In pumpkin we keep that candle or flame, and there are holes in that pumpkin. And through those holes, the light emerges out and illumines the surrounding. Like that, he says, there is light of consciousness within, which is going out through the sense organs. Nana chidra ghatodara stitamaha deepa prabha bhaswaram. Just like that flame of the lamp went out through different holes in that pot or in that pumpkin. Like that, this flame of consciousness, light of consciousness, getting conditioned by thought. Jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikarana-dvara bahispandate. Conditioned by thought, through sense organs, it goes out and gets knowledge of different things. What do I say after that? Janami. I know this world. According to Shankaracharya ji, saying I know something is adhyasa. He says you are not knowing something, you are knowledge itself. You are Jnapti Matra, Chaitanya Matra. Whenever there are conditionings involved, that consciousness thinks I am a knower. So Adresha means trace that journey back. From the object, come to the sense organ which is knowing that object. From the sense organ, come to the thought which is knowing that sense organ. From that thought, shift attention to that consciousness which is unconditioned. That is this line, Drushehe Bahishpravrittasya Panchendriya Dvarakatvat. Through 5 sense organs, mind goes out and understands Drushya Vastu. Consciousness is Drashta, Adreshyam. Second indicator is Agrahyam. Agrahyam means Karmendriya Avishayam iti etat. never becomes an object of karmendriyas. Never becomes an object of karmendriya. We had seen, grasping is just one karmendriya. That is, consciousness cannot be grasped as an object. Another karmendriya is speech. Another karmendriya is speech. Just like consciousness cannot be grasped, consciousness cannot be affected in any way through speech also. So imagine somebody who is abiding in consciousness, he will not be affected by any speech. Yasmin sthito na dukkhena guruna api vichalyate. Dukkham can come through several ways. And speech is one of the ways. That's why Ramana Maharshi says, if somebody criticizes you, they can only criticize the ego, not the self. Because self is not an object of karmendriya. That is the applied side of this. Agrahyam means don't only think it cannot be grasped through hand. It is not available for transaction even through speech. Any karmendriya, it doesn't become an object of that karmendriya. But if, let us say, somebody is critiquing, criticizing, very quickly this sadhaka might sit in ahankar and start feeling they are criticizing me. So there Ramana Maharshi had said in Saddarshanam, if somebody who abides in this self, he says they'll be free from any experience. Don't take only criticism, even praise. If somebody is praising and that sadhaka is sitting in ahankar, then the feeling is this praise is mine. But one who abides in this self, praise and criticism both are distanced. Because he says self cannot be praised, it cannot be criticized. What Vedanta wants us to do is, don't hold on to our own conditionings which don't belong to us. He says that bhara which is not ours, why are we taking it on our head and going through samsara with that bhara? Bhara means weight. The famous example is person on a bullock cart holding the load on his head, thinking that it's too much for that bullock to pull. He says, I will carry it on my head. All our conditionings are like that load. Thinking myself to be this body, this mind, this ego. That which doesn't belong to us, Vedanta says, don't take it up. It belongs to Prakriti, that Prakriti which is an appearance. Holding on to those conditionings, that itself is bondage. That is the meaning of the word agrahyam, that which doesn't become an object of, organ of action also. Agotram, Shankaracharya explains what is the meaning of the word gotra. Gotram anvayaha. Anvaya means that which goes in the next. Anvaya means that which continues. Like in lineage, Gotra means what? Whatever was there in the previous generation, many things continue to the next generation. That's why they use the word Gotram. Even in genes, genomes and all they say, right? There are many genes which continue from the same lineage, from parents. So he says that is called as Anvaya. That Anvaya, passing on a particular trait across several generations, that is called as Anvaya. What continues is called as Anvaya. That is where the word Gotram comes from. It also means Moolam, origin, from where it started. That's why they say Kashyapa Gotrodbhavasya, started from Kashyapa, and then it continued from all other people. Here it is opposite of that. Iti arthantaram. Opposite of this understanding, you have to understand for agotram. So what was the meaning of gotram? Anvayah, that which continues in that particular thing. He says, in consciousness, there is nothing which is continuing from its past. Ananvayah means there was no previous origin, there was no another cause for this consciousness. Therefore, there is nothing which is continuing in consciousness. Just like different traits continue in a gotram, in consciousness, there is nothing which is continuing from its past. That's why it is called as agotram. Ananvayam ityartah. There is nothing which is continuing here. Nahi tasya moolam asti yena anvitam syat. There is no origin of this, there is no other origin of this consciousness by which it will get pervaded or that particular trait will show up in consciousness. It is causeless. That is the meaning of the word agotram. So when I sit down for meditation, this is one indicator I can hold on to. If I think I have a beginning, that means I'm identifying with body. Body has beginning, body will have end. Meditation is on this fact that I am beginningless, I am causeless. Varnyante iti varnaha dravya dharmaha. Now the fourth indicator is being described, avarnam. That by which an object is described, that is called as varna. Varnyante iti varnaha dravya dharmaha. The attributes of an object, holding on to it, taking support of it, you can describe that object. What are some attributes? Sthulatvadaya. This is gross, this is subtle. You can say this is round, this is tall, this is short. All these are attributes. Shuklatvadeha, you can use colors also. This is white, this is red, this is green. Using attributes like these, you can describe something. Avidyamanaha varnaha yasya tat avarnam. What is aksharam? That which doesn't have, that in which there is absence of varna, absence of attributes. Attributeless truth, that is consciousness. In our Kathopanishad class, we were thinking about this. Just imagine, how can you even describe something without attributes? If you say describe this object, first thing we will use is some shape, some use. In what will you use that thing? You can use that as an description. Or you can show some relation. This is that person's son, this is this person's daughter. Some relation you can use to show. But imagine there is some entity which is attributeless. The only way to show it is through negation. Whatever attributes I might have in mind, those attributes have to negate. Attributes such as body, attributes such as mind, and all the other colors of this ego. Those are all attributes. When I quieten it, when I negate it through knowledge, what remains after that, that is Akshara. Just to make sure that we don't go into void, Vidimukha is also pointed out. That when you negate attributes, it is not some emptiness which remains there. It's a positive entity. For that, assertion is pointed out. It is Sat, it is Chit, it is Ananda. Existence, consciousness, bliss. But the point is, when we sit down, we have to try to shift attention to this Lakshana. I am agotram means what? I don't have any origin. I am avarnam means what? I have no attributes. Manobuddhyahankara chittani naham. Nirvana Shatakam is this one verse, one word, one lakshana, avarnam. Whatever attributes I can think about in myself or I have superimposed in myself, I have to distance myself from those attributes. Achakshu Shrotram, Achakshuhu, no, that we did not say, right? Only until this point. Let us read the next part. Achakshu Shrotram, Chakshuscha, Shrotram cha, Namarupa Vishaye, Karane, Sarvajantunam, Te, Avidyamane, Yasya, Tad, Achakshu Shrotram, Yah Sarvajnah, Sarvavit, Ityadi, Chetanavatva, Visheshanatvat, Praptam, Samsarinam Iva, Chakshushrotradibhi, Karanaihi, Arthasadhakatvam, Tat Iha, Achakshushrotram, Iti Varyate, Pashyatya Chakshuhu, Sashrunotya Karnaha, Ityadi Darshanat, Achakshushrotram, Chakshushra Shrotram cha, Nama Rupa Vishaye Karane, Sarvajantunam. What is Chakshushrotam? Bhagavan says that instrument by which we make Nama Rupa as our object. Very technical way of defining. Huh? What is an eye? That by which object becomes known to me. What is ear? That by which sound becomes revealed to me. That is called as Chakshushrotam. If you see, this was the definition given in Kenopanishad also. Natatra Natatra Chakshur Gachati, Navak Gachati. He said, what is Chakshu and Shrotam? That which makes the Vishaya known to me. That instrument is called as eyes and ears. Sarvajantunam means all beings have these instruments, but consciousness is that which doesn't have these instruments. Te avidyamane yasya tad achakshu shrotram. Pure consciousness doesn't have eyes and ears, doesn't have any organ of perception. There is a very nice application of this particular understanding. Huh? Achakshu Shrotam in simple word means there are no jnanendriyas. Eyes and ears, they are jnanendriyas, organ of perceptions. Achakshu Shrotam means without organ of perception. What it means is, in pure consciousness, there is no bhoktrutva. Without identifying with organ of perception, think whether we can have bhoktrutva or not. Only when we identify with organ of perception, only then this notion rises, I am bhokta. It's a very unique perspective or application of jnanendriya and karmendriya. The moment I identify with jnanendriya, I become bhokta. Moment I identify with karmendriya, I become karta. So when they say consciousness doesn't have jnanendriyas, what they are wanting to say there is consciousness is abhokta. And when we say consciousness doesn't have karmendriya, what is implied there is consciousness is akarta. So when I sit down for meditation, this is the lakshana I have to hold on to. I am that Chaitanya which doesn't have jnanendriyas, means I am abhokta. I am that Chaitanya which is not having any karmendriyas. I am akarta. Karmendriya will come later, but this one is talking about Jnanendriyas. When just mentally withdraw yourself from all sense organs, eyes, ears, touch, and then see, I still exist. Whether sense organs are there or not, whether world is there or not, my existence doesn't depend upon world and sense organs. Next step is to understand all of that is an appearance in me. It is not independently existing outside, it is appearing in consciousness. But even if we can distance ourselves from this karmendriya, from this jnanendriya, from this mind, that itself is 50% moksha. Another 50% is to negate what I have separated out. To understand it as mithya is the later 50%. First 50% is having done all sadhana chatushtaya and everything, coming to this point of distancing from our conditionings. यह सर्वज्ञः सर्ववित् इत्यादि चेतनावत्व विशेषणत्वात्. Now this is a very little subtle point. Shankaracharya says there is Jiva, there is Ishvara. What is Vedanta's final understanding? That essential nature of God is consciousness. Essential nature of God is consciousness. But when we look at Bhagavan, we say Bhagavan is the one who knows details. We don't say he's just an illuminator, Sakshi. Whatever emotions are there in our heart, whatever is happening in this world, God knows it in a very specific way. Just like we are knowing this world in bits and pieces, God knows everything in detail. So if he's knowing everything in detail, just like Jiva becomes Bhokta, does Ishvara also become Bhokta? He says no. In his essential nature, Bhagavan is pure consciousness. He doesn't have conditionings of Chakshushrotram. But if he doesn't have conditionings, how is he able to have Vishesha Jnanam? That is inexplicable. Asa saba karaba alaukika karani. Shiva Gita, Bhagavan Shiva says, everything that is happening over here, as far as Bhagavan is concerned, he says it is alaukika. How that consciousness which is unchanging appears as conditioned and knows everything in so much detail. They are not two different people. That same consciousness with conditioning, how it takes on conditioning, and how it does all these things, he says it's a wonder. But in essence, Bhagavan doesn't have these conditionings. He is pure consciousness. But his Leela is such, he can hear the ringing of the anklets on the foot of an ant. When Mahatma Ji writes in this, चीटी पग में घुंघरू बांधे वह भी मालिक सुनता है. If an ant wears anklets on its leg, even that Bhagavan hears. Means every emotion, every thought he is aware of. That Shuddha Chaitanya, how it does it, he says that is indescribable. But one thing is for sure, he doesn't do it like a Jiva. Like how Jiva needs eyes and ears to know things, Bhagavan is somebody who is doing it in a very different way. That's why this line has come. Sarvajnah sarvavit ityadi chetanavatva visheshanatvat. The one who is conditioned consciousness, that is having this visheshana, sarvajna sarvavit. Praptam samsarinam iva chakshushrotadibhi karanaihi artha sadhakatvam. If you say Bhagavan also has eyes and ears, then it will be like just another jiva having some prayojanam. We want to see objects, that is why we are using these eyes to see that object, and we become bhokta. So like that, Bhagwan will not become Bhokta. To establish this point, Tadiha Chakshushrotram iti varyate. To remove the samsari dharma in Bhagwan, this indicator has come Achakshushrotram. Shankaracharya says, this is not my own opinion, that Bhagwan doesn't have eyes and ears. He says, there is one Upanishadic mantra which says, Pashyati achakshuhu sashrunoti akarna. He sees without eyes and hears without ears. Both are true. He sees is also true, and he sees it without eyes, that is also true. Means he doesn't have conditioning of eye to see. As far as his essential nature of is concerned, is without any conditionings, that is also true. He hears, Shrunoti, Bhagwan hears whatever we say, whatever we pray. That is also true. But Akarnaha doesn't have ears to hear. That is also true. How can both be true? So that is Ashcharyam. Indescribable. Let him do however he is doing it. Why should we bother? He is hearing, right? And he is responding also. And that is all we have to be happy with. Ityadi darshanat. This is the point which is mentioned here. I'm going a little slower on this because these are all Nididhyasanam mantras. More we spend time to reflect upon it, it will help us in our Nididhyasanam. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om.